am I doing the intro then?
I think so.
Well, I don't know what the hell the intro is today, so yeah.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 8 of the Omnus Chronicles podcast. I am joined by my regular crew members and friends on this wonderful Sunday evening. For those of you who don't know them, obviously me, I am Captain Karen Burnett and I am the CEO of the U.S.S. Omnus. To my, I want to say right, this way on the screen, because that's what everyone is seeing, is Commodore John Hardy, who is the CEO of the USS Essex. Sorry, I always get it wrong. Next to him is Lieutenant Hugh MacDonald, who is the head of our communications department on the Omnus. Below me is Lieutenant Kieran. I'm sorry, I'm not going to try and say your surname because I know I'm going to butcher it. He is the head of medical on the USS Omnus, and next to him, the only one who is not showing his face today because he doesn't feel like it, is Captain Ross Burnett, the executive officer and head of security on the Omnus. Obviously, hello everybody, and I hope you're doing well on this wonderful Sunday. Our topic today is kind of a weird one because we've been very busy with planning for OmnusCon, which if you haven't seen it yet on socials, then why not, and you should go and look at it. So I unfortunately dropped the ball with getting a topic, but my wonderful crew have decided to get topics for me. It's something to do with the captains, that's all I know. And so I'm going to hand it over to either Kieran or Hugh, but I know that Hugh and Ross also want to make note of certain things that have happened over the weekend, the past few days, and obviously things that we need to take into consideration. So off you go.
Thank you. I will go first then with saying that sad loss to the Star Trek community with the passing of Tony Todd. He played many a character on Star Trek, as well as multiple sci-fi franchises, horror franchises. He lent his voice to so many different things because it was so distinctive. Between playing a Klingon and Commander Kurn or a Herodian officer, he was just an older Jake Sisko and Deep Space Nine, where he, for the first time, I think in Star Trek, he didn't actually wear any prosthetics. He was, a well-loved character. By all accounts, an awesome dude. And his passing is a loss to everybody. So, rest in peace, Tony.
Indeed. Very sad.
He always looked like a big teddy bear. Like, he always played, like, obviously the Star Trek stuff, but I know him mostly from the horror things, and he looks kind of scary, but he also looks like a big teddy bear that you could just hug. That's the kind of face he had sometimes, which is a weird teddy bear, but still definitely a big loss felt in the Star Trek community as well as everywhere else. And now we shall hand over to Mr. Ross.
Yeah, so well, I mean, it's handing over to it's not really a handover. It's just a remembrance to the soldiers and not just the soldiers obviously, but the people who sacrificed the most during wartime so that we could have our freedoms that we have today. And obviously it's Remembrance Sunday today, meaning that on the 11th of November at 11 there will be a proper moment of silence. I'm pretty sure a lot of companies will be doing that, just to remember the fallen. And I think we should all obviously pay our respects as well to the soldiers and the civilians that sacrificed so much so that we could have what we have today. So that's just my thought.
And the animals.
Well, yeah, and the animals too, because obviously there were horses during World War One, and horses were during World War Two, dogs during World War Two, pigeons, and during even the later wars. Actually, they used dogs. They still use horses today as well. So,
And I know that Remembrance Day and Remembrance Sunday and stuff is also particularly, well, not really that, but the whole war thing and being in the military does hit close to a certain member in our crew who is actually here today. And obviously, if you want to talk about it, you're welcome to. But also, obviously, it is for you and all the things that you did. And anyway,
yes,
onto
respect to you too. Obviously.
Well, on that, I think we can go into the topics then.
Really.
Captains then. So, yes, I'll give the credit to this to Kieran. Came up when we were doing some of the OmChron yesterday to delve deeper into captains in the Star Trek universe. So, yeah, I think it's only fair to start with the very first one. And work our way through, and it's not. I don't suppose it will be. I mean, I guess it'll be mainly captains of. I just feel like captains of Enterprise, but yes, that's right. Captains of the Enterprise, and Voyager, Deep Space Nine, and other captains, because there was the Star Trek has had numerous captains come in and out for one-off episodes or recurring roles and stuff like that, and basically anybody that wants to give a mention out to any of those as well, and their favourite moments and characters. So I think we were best starting off with, or I'll start off with Captain Kirk, should I say, the sort of the epitome of what a Star Trek captain always was from the original Star Trek. Someone bold and brass and adventurous, but at the same time open to new experiences, especially with a woman. I'm sure there one or two young Kirk prodigies kicking about the universe somewhere. Know them.
Yeah.
But yeah, Kirk is the sort of first captain that's always appeared on our screens, apart from the obvious pilot yeah, he sort of became the sort of epitome of what a captain in Star Trek should be, and despite being a role model and stuff like that, the Star Trek never shied away from showing his failings as a human and as a person as well, which is I think really good.
That's good story writing, if you ask me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think one of the good things about Star Trek is it's never been afraid to show people's failings. And how people can get things wrong and change their mind, hopefully, if they're open-minded enough to do so.
Exactly. It makes them look like they're actually growing. You know, just like you're watching them actually get exactly, and they're actually growing into something new because of that. So I 100% agree with you.
Yeah. And Kirk, one of the sort of younger captains, as we see from multiple Star Trek series, captains tend to be slightly older when they get to the captain stage. But Kirk seems to be. I'm not too sure actually. I should have looked into this more beforehand. But he was at least in the J.J. Abrams one. He was very young. But again, that's an alternate timeline. But I don't think that was too far away from removed from the prime timeline. A young, bold officer who not afraid to make the right choices or the wrong choices, as case may be, not afraid to make choices. And he was he was someone who is a character who everybody came to love and care for. Strange as it may be given that when you say Star Trek to anybody, everyone goes, "Oh, Spock." But yeah. Captain Kirk's always the next one there, and being that he is just a regular old human, and with nothing more interesting about him than that. Whereas Spock has the alien look about him with the ears and the hair and the makeup and although subtle,
That's why
it's
he
always
was
building.
such a womanizer.
Sorry?
Maybe that's why he was such a womanizer, to make up for the fact that he's not super interesting otherwise.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, if you have to compete with someone like Spock, who, like you said, is Vulcan and has all the ears and everything, and it's the first thought, then maybe that's why he became a womanizer, because he was tired of everyone saying, "Oh yes, Spock."
Yeah, possibly yes. I think Captain Kirk was of his time as well, whereas subsequent captains have on later iterations of Star Trek have shown a bit more restraint when it comes to their personal / sexual lives. Captain Kirk was always like, "Ooh, yeah, I want me some of that," and quite bold and brass about it, which was very 60s and 70s.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. I don't think it was necessarily the whole womanizing thing. I think it was the time of it was the period of time that it was in, which is the what do they call it, the sexual revolution or something along those lines, where
Yeah.
everyone was just humping everyone.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yes, and it wasn't just in Captain Kirk. It was it didn't matter if you were black or white or green, as it comes across. So yes, which was it's very cool. But yeah, he sort of to me he was the captain who was not afraid to be himself and his own man, which I guess that's why to me Captain Picard, and we'll get on to him later, but it was always is my favourite. He always had the confidence to go ahead and do what he thought was right, in a different way to Kirk. But Kirk had always had that boldness of you know what, it's like I have a set of moral. I have a moral code, and the Federation has a set of rules and regulations and stuff like that, which we think is so damn good that yeah, we should pass it on to everybody else in the universe. But yeah, a captain who always inspired his crew, inspired confidence, inspired loyalty in his crew, and yeah, the first, I mean, I don't know. I would be stop short of saying role model for someone like myself. And Captain Kirk has seen him as a young boy, but he was one of these people who you sort of aspire to be. You know what I mean? It's like every young person. Well, maybe not every young person, but me as younger. I mean, the whole adventure into space and all that sort of stuff, and meeting new aliens and people and stuff like that, which is far removed from who I am now, because yeah, I much prefer dogs to people. But yeah, it was always someone to look up to, and his character development over the years was great, up until even Star Trek 6 Undiscovered Country, where he still wasn't afraid to confront his prejudices towards Klingons, and it made him an overall well-rounded character, and someone who was someone who I've lost for words here, but yes, I shall pass on Captain Kirk to someone else to give it to see what they think of him.
I say Kieran. Your thoughts on Captain Kirk?
I think he's a good captain, but I don't know.
Short and sweet.
Yes, he would be. He's up there as one of the better captains that we've seen in the show. Of course, there's quite a few been about. Some of them are a bit more wooden and one-dimensional, as far as I'm concerned, in the shape of like Sisko and stuff like that. Then we've got the well-rounded ones like Picard and Kirk and Janeway. And then we've got Archer, who's somewhere in the middle. He was just again. He was somebody who's of his era in the show, sort of thing, in terms of not knowing what was out there and trying to be someone who nobody else had ever been before. So in that case, at least Kirk had someone to had people before him to actually follow in the footsteps of, whereas Archer came out as someone who was had to figure it all out for himself.
Sorry, apologies.
But yeah, it's Kirk is the epitome of a Star Trek captain to quite a lot of people. He's his
Well, he was
his take on
one
it
of
is
the first people to actually be out there.
as
a captain. So it was like all the others that came out were, I don't know, probably compared with or to, I don't know what's the right way to say it, to Kirk, going, oh yes, this one's good, but Kirk did A, B, and C kind of thing. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, even when we see in the original series other captains like that are on their sort of a presumed 5-year mission, because they're in a Constitution class starship, which is what they were built for. The one where I can't remember the name of the episode or the captain, where this space alien thing was like devouring worlds and it killed everybody on board, and Kirk and the crew managed to rescue him as the only survivor from his ship, and then Kirk was hurt and he had to take over the Enterprise, and he just didn't handle it as well as Kirk would. I mean, I know he had the loss of his entire crew and stuff like that, but Kirk was always shown to be to be able to handle the stress and these sort of situations a lot better than anybody else was. And that showed going through Star Trek the original series and all the movies, and we get to see some good light side to all the captains, which is kind of cool. But yes, anybody else's thoughts on Captain Kirk?
He's not my favorite. I'm not gonna lie, but that's just, it's nothing to the actor. William Shatner did a really good job in the time, but I've never liked Kirk, and it's got nothing to do with his womanizing or anything like that. It's just him as a captain never actually really captured me. Maybe it's something to do with as Ross said, it's probably the age I grew up in, likely because of that, but also it's and it does go to the age thing where the acting was just, I can't watch some of those episodes with a serious face because of the acting, and that throws it off. And it's nothing against any of the people, it's just in my mind, I grew up with Team G, so going back and watching the original series after that, it's like, oh, I don't like this.
I don't know what do you mean.
That But that I think that's all I'll say. I'm not sure if anyone else has anything to say.
I thought Kirk was kind of up himself sometimes.
It's kind of what himself?
Up himself in terms of his
Himself.
command and that.
Yeah, like he could do no wrong, basically.
Yeah, overly confident. Yeah. Yeah,
Sometimes that's what you
get
need in
that,
a captain.
well, yeah, you do need a certain
Unfortunately,
level of confidence. Yeah.
yeah, because you got to be prepared to make the mistakes and face the consequences of those mistakes. And I think only people who are extremely overconfident are willing to actually do that kind of thing without actually willing to take that kind of a risk. So I get it. I get it. He definitely seems like he's a bit up himself. So 100% agree with you there as well.
Yeah, I guess it harks back to last week when we were talking about, or last episode when we were talking about Star Trek episodes, the good and the bad ones. The one where Picard didn't take that risk, and Q showed him what his life would have been if he hadn't fought the Nausicaan and been stabbed in the heart, and he ended up as a lowly lieutenant, not even in command, but in the sciences. And yeah, he didn't like the life that would have happened if that was the case. So he came to terms with his boldness and his brashness. And
Yeah.
I think it just shows that that's what you need in a not only a captain, I think a leader of people in general.
I think what actually made that good as well is the fact that, you know, no one really knew why he was laughing when he was stabbed. No one actually knew why he was laughing until that episode, and that episode actually showed why he just suddenly started laughing. I think it brought everything together really well.
It did indeed, yes. And that's a good segue to move on to Captain Picard, I guess.
Indeed.
Yeah.
I think we should let Ross say what he thinks first, because the two of you are going to boost him. It's obviously up to you, but I'm
What I think of who?
Picard.
Alright.
You have as much to say about Picard as Hugh does.
Not really, no. I just come in with the agreements when they're necessary and come in with arguments if they're necessary. So I'm happy for Hugh to do the thing.
Yes, I'm just it's a bit like a deer caught in the headlights and just talking out my arse a bit at times, so apologies for that. But it's a bit like because I haven't prepared anything here. But on to Picard. I think Picard, for most of us, apart from Commodore obviously, has been the main captain that we grew up with in Star Trek.
Yeah.
Different from Kirk in that he was a lot more reserved, especially personally. Until the show progressed, he wasn't even willing to have personal relationships with the crew in a sort of friend-to-friend way. He always kept that distance that Kirk never did.
Until the last episode.
Yeah, even I mean, even in the last episode when he joined him at the poker table and said, "Oh, I should have done this
a long time ago."
Yeah, exactly. That's the kind of person he was. He felt like he had to keep a professional distance. Do you think that does somebody think that a leader in general can be friends with their subordinates in a structure that has a chain of command, or do you think there's in a society like Star Trek where people are meant to know their job, not know their place, so to speak, because that would say it in a more personal way, but to know their job and their position and what is and isn't appropriate, and is meant to exercise self-restraint?
Yeah, with that, I get where Picard is coming. You know, sometimes he's going to have to make the hard decisions, and when it comes to those kinds of hard decisions, you build a friendship with someone. Now, that's not saying that he never built any friendships with any of the crew members, but if you do the whole buddy thing where you're playing poker with each other and all that stuff, just remember that you're the one that might send one of those crew that you're playing poker with. You'll be the one sending them to their death. There may be a chance that you send them to their death, and the others may resent you for it, which is, I think, the reason why he did what he did, because there was always that chance that might happen. It never did, but there was a chance that it could, and keeping himself separated from the crew gave him that that sort of insulation against that, if it makes sense.
Oh no, yeah, totally.
Yeah, it's probably why commanding officers don't generally get all buddy with their subordinates when it comes to like anything military wise or anything like that, because it's the same thing. It's, you know, you're gonna have to make the tough decisions, and sometimes those tough decisions are not the most nice things to do. So yeah, I get it. I do. I understand wholeheartedly. And this harkens me back to watching Band of Brothers, actually, and how Captain Winters, when he was just lieutenant, remained steadfast in his, you know, I'll be with my team, I'll be with my guys from Easy Company, I'll be with them, but I won't get that so close that I'll be affected, that like I'll be treated and shown as a belligerent leader because I keep sending people to their death, because you know how many men Easy Company lost, and it sort of makes sense that was the way he actually looked at things, and it makes sense that most military do that way. It's just it makes you seem people may think it's like it's really evil why militaries do that, but I get it. You know, put yourself in the commander's shoes and you'll understand. It's as simple as that. You know, that's how I see it.
Well, very much so, yeah. I mean, it's the same with the episode with Deanna Troi taking the bridge command test. The test to become a bridge officer. And you've seen her character develop through being just a counsellor, and obviously she had to be a Starfleet, a member of Starfleet to start with, so she went through all the same training as everybody else, but that wasn't the main part of her job as a counsellor, working in the sort of the medical sciences division. But yeah, she progressed through the episode with the quantum filament to show that she had the abilities, and yeah, and it was that episode where she struggled and thought of everything that she could technically to pass the bridge test, and couldn't get it until she realised that, oh wait a minute, I'm going to have to send someone. If I'm in command, I might have to send one of my friends to their death.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's what makes being in command such a difficult thing when it comes to the military, because you would have to do that, and that's what that test was showing.
Yeah,
was that if you're going to be one of the bridge crew, you have to be willing to make that sacrifice.
Yeah, and I think you're right in what you said. I think that's the main reason why Picard kept his distance from everybody. And although he was close with the crew and he could joke about with them, and they probably knew more about each other than maybe he might have expected, based on how surprised he was, I think, through that he knew that things were happening on the Enterprise, and that fact that he'd already had a command before in the Stargazer, that this obviously hadn't occurred before, and he's obviously starting to think of them as family and friends and family, and it can be a difficult thing to walk that line. Well, it must be, I presume. I don't ever have to do that, thankfully. But it's one of these things that sets command personnel apart from everybody else, I guess.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and Picard as well. He was, although Kirk had a sort of less serious side, and there was episodes in the original series where you seen Kirk fooling around with Spock and Spock taking the piss out of him for not being able to drive properly in that episode where they went back to the planet where everything was based on a 1930s Chicago gangster book that some other captain had left behind.
Yeah.
Whereas that was good. Picard, he actually, even when he wasn't early on, when he wasn't part of the he hadn't come into his own in terms of being part of the whole crew and getting together with everyone and stuff like that. When he first went to Risa and Riker asked him to get a what was it, a Gorhon, I think, or Gorgon or something like that, because it's basically that he wanted sex from any female that was passing by.
Yeah.
And yeah, the awkwardness with that, but then the relationship that followed from with what's her name now? Can't remember her name. Who is it? The archaeologist on that episode.
Yeah, I forget her name as well. She's kind of a forgettable character. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, yeah, that was the first signs of Picard being more than just a sort of cardboard cutout of a captain who knew exactly what to do in every situation. And it was really good. And his character progressed really well from there. And it's good to see in Picard him being an older gentleman who has a lifetime of experiences behind him. Trying to convince younger captains of what's right and wrong, and try to impart his experiences and his knowledge is really good to see.
I think he became a legend than the other captain, I think.
Oh, I think so as well, yeah. I mean, although Kirk has literally saved the planet and the Federation and stuff like that, so has Picard. I think Picard being... I don't know. Well, that's a good question then, Kieran. What do you think that it is... Picard and Kirk being such legendary captains, why do you think Picard comes across as more of a sort of hero legend character than Kirk would be?
He's shown us more of his personal side, what he would do in situations, done more to the Federation, I think, than Kirk has.
Mm-hmm. Oh, cool. Yeah, that's true. And what about your thoughts, John?
I can't think of any at the moment. Stunned. Same original series episode thinking about was a Decker and Doomsday Machine. Same Bill Decker.
Oh right, yeah.
And his son become Matt Decker in the motion picture.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also Kirk was 36 when he took command of the Enterprise.
Oh, was he 36? I thought he was younger than that. All right. Oh well. Okay. That's not that young an age, I guess.
I mean, that's young for a captain.
Oh, it's young for a captain, yeah, I guess, yeah.
34 to 36. He was the youngest Starfleet captain on the Bell Crew, but he was captain before that of another ship. He was 20 something and another little freighter.
Oh yeah, because the Farragut, I think, was he actually in command of the Farragut before he took over the Enterprise?
No, it's just I'll just look at that one. I'll me. No, Farragut was just a normal standard lowly officer.
Yeah, because I know he worked his way up the ranks on the Farragut very quickly. Yeah. From being a junior lieutenant to being a part of the command crew. So yeah, that was cool to see, and you see more of that in Strange New Worlds than you ever did in or heard about in the original series.
Yeah. I can't think of this.
So yes. I'll take a back seat in this one and see what is everybody's thoughts on Captain Sisko.
Considering the fact that he's not a captain, don't know if he's supposed to be part of this.
Well,
Yeah,
he
he's
did get
technically
promoted
a
to captain.
captain, though.
Yeah, promoted to captain. Yeah.
Eventually, he got promoted to captain, but yeah, he's. Is it supposed to be captains of starships or just captains?
Captains in general.
We could talk about the captain of the Discovery.
Yeah, I'll avoid that
Really? You wanna get a rise out of him, don't you?
Depends. The captain of the Discovery, there were three of them actually, because
Yeah.
that ship has had more captains than I've had underwear. Obviously, it's a joke. Good
I
God,
was
people.
about to say.
I was about to say, gee, so I think Kez, you need to get him some underwear for Christmas.
Yeah. Well, you know how it goes, dude. Christmas time's when we renew our underwear stock.
And socks.
It is indeed. If it wasn't for my mum buying me socks every year for Christmas, I would have to go and buy them myself. And as far as I'm concerned, that's a waste of money.
Exactly. Why buy socks when you can just, get them for Christmas?
Exactly. Yes.
I don't like Sisko. He's too upset and said in the past about how
That's like one set of episodes, Angel.
I know, but like I don't know. I don't know. From what I've seen, like I haven't seen a lot of DS9. I'm not gonna lie. But he seems too upset and angry with the world and worried about his son, which I get because he's a single father, and not only that, he has to obviously run the space station and all of that, so it can be quite stressful. But I don't know. I didn't like. From what I saw, I didn't like him as a captain.
Yeah, Sisko is one of my least favorite captains. Partly, I think, due to well, maybe it's not. I mean, I don't know the guy personally, but yeah, it was the way he was played was quite one-dimensional to start with, and he only ever came into his own when he was during the Dominion War, when he was being a military commander. But to start with, who he was based off of someone who had lost his wife in the Battle of 359 and had a major fucking chip in his shoulder because of it, particularly against Picard. I mean, that sets everybody off on the wrong foot to start with, because he didn't have much respect for Picard or anything like that, and everyone's like,
How dare you be mean to our favorite captain?
I know, how very fucking dare you! God damn it! Picard is king. He's the god of Star Trek at this point.
Yeah, I get why though, because not everyone is going to be enamored with Picard. There are going to be people who actually don't like him and despise him, especially because of Wolf 359 and how many people died because he became Locutus of Borg, even though it wasn't his fault and he wasn't of his own mind. He was actually part of a hive mind there. He was sucked into a hive mind, so it did make a bit of a difference, and it did kind of actually hurt him there. I get that, but at the end of the day, people were going to have a hatred of Picard because of that. That's not anything any of us can actually do or change, and it's nothing that he could have changed either, to be honest. But yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just the way they decided to base his character on that to start with.
I think it really was a bad idea to do that.
Yeah, just got him off on the wrong foot with everybody. And I know there's lots of Sisko fans, and and Avery Brooks is shown to be a very competent actor in other things that he's done that I've seen. But yeah, and maybe it's just the way he decided to play the role. But he really did shine in certain episodes, like in The Pale Moonlight, when he got the Romulans into the war by doing something very underhand and illegal. And stuff like that. Those episodes he really shone in. When the episodes that were good for him were really good, and he came across really well. But as an overall arc and character, yeah, I think for me particularly, I think it was a lot to do with as well the him being the emissary and everything around that. That was quite. It was a bit off-putting for me. It was. I mean, it was interesting to see him as a character have to deal with that, have to be a sort of, I guess not a low-level deity, but someone who talks to their deities, who's been sent there to help them out. That was always something that I found. I don't know, not very interesting, can I say, and a bit
Too long-winded.
Yeah, and it's like Star Trek, for me anyway, and this is a question for to see how the rest of you feel about it. But Star Trek for me had gone past the whole organized religion thing, and everybody had their own spiritual beliefs, and everybody was respected because of it. And this sort of turned that on its head. And I know that it was the Bajorans and not people from Earth, the humans. But yeah, it just never sat quite right with me, because it harked back to days where religious war was a thing, and that didn't sit well with me with him, and with the whole thing around him being the emissary and stuff like that. I don't know what you guys think.
Well, when it comes to that kind of thing, I get it. The Bajorans only had recently joined the Federation, so they were still stuck in their religion, with their own religions and things like that. And as you know, the Federation will not judge any race on any of the creeds or their religions or anything like that. They would never have done that in the first place. They let them practice their religions the way they wanted to. So yeah, I get why it wouldn't sit well with you, but at the same, I mean, I suppose you can call me offensive if you want to, but I do actually understand the reasoning behind why they would do that, because it's not a case of just like, oh, well, we're not religious, so we're going to force you not to be religious, or we don't do organized religion, so now we're going to force you not to have an organized religion. It's sort of, that would put a very sour taste in a lot of people's mouths, because basically that's just enforcing your own beliefs on someone, and that's not something that I would think the Federation would have ever wanted. And I also don't think that's anything Gene Roddenberry would have wanted to actually espouse in his writings, in the writings of his story. So I do actually understand where he's coming from. He didn't want to actually put that much of a sour taste in people's mouths, because you can only imagine the backlash that would have happened if he'd actually gone that route, and had the Federation forcing them to be a agnostic sort of a race, instead of they're having their own beliefs and their own structure of life and things like that. So I kind of get it.
I get the whole thing between with people, other races having their own religious beliefs, the same way I do now in my personal life. I have no objections about people having their own religious beliefs or anything like that, despite what I may think. But yeah, it was.
Yeah, but what you think is wrong, so you don't count. I had to, dude. I had to.
And I appreciate it. If you hadn't, I wouldn't have. I would have lost some respect for you. No, I think it's the way that they pulled Sisko's character into it. that didn't sit well with me.
Oh, dragging
yeah,
him in.
I've no
probably
problem
never
with
done
the
that.
other worlds and all that having their own belief systems and whatever like that. It was the whole that it was a whole dragging Benjamin Sisko's character into that just didn't sit well with me. Except,
I agree with you there. That they
yeah.
shouldn't have done that.
Against the whole sort of. He even went against the sort of prime directive in a way of like non-interference and stuff like that. It just and never ever sat well with me.
Although I mean, you can't really go against the prime directive if they're part of the Federation.
Well,
there's so many caveats in the prime directive that it kind of it makes itself unravel.
Yeah, that's the thing. The Bajorans had a treaty with the Federation, but they were never actually part of the Federation.
Yeah.
The only time that they were going to join the Federation was before the war, but then they decided not to because then they would be held on the same side as the Federation in terms of the Dominion, and they didn't want the Starfleet thought that was best for them not to do that. I can't remember for the life of me whether they actually did join in the Federation in the last season or something like that. I'm not too sure, but yeah, it was a bit of a weird one.
Don't think they did, if I remember rightly.
They didn't they? No.
No, they were going to, but then Sisko appeared. The division that happened to fall apart.
Yeah, that was true. Yeah, I thought it was best not to get them involved because then if they joined the Federation, they'd be aligning themselves with them in terms of going against the Dominion, who were obviously just about to take over that part of space.
Yeah.
Talking about different parts of space, another segue. Thank you very much. We got a captain who explored the Delta Quadrant, Captain Kathryn Janeway.
But first, we need to acknowledge the kitties that are sitting on the chair at the moment.
Where's that? Oh! Someone never even seen them.
Indeed.
Fantastic.
We need to acknowledge the kitties.
But Kathryn Janeway,
sorry, too busy looking at kittens. The first. Although Star Trek had shown female captains previously, this was the first time a female captain had ever led a show in Star Trek, and I think it was about damn time that it happened as well when it did. Kate Mulgrew brought that character to life completely and entirely. I think, I don't know, it's one of these people that I don't know, we have seen other people play Kirk and they've been really good, and we'll probably see people in the future play, we have seen people play younger Picard and stuff like that, I can't imagine anybody trying to pull off a Janeway.
No,
I don't think.
No one. It's hard to. It's obviously hard to fill everyone's shoes, but it's exceptionally hard in my opinion, and it's just because she's my favorite captain anyway. But it's exceptionally hard to fill her shoes. But it's like you said, she brought that character to life as well. And as far as I remember from one of your trivia things, you actually brought up that she was not the first choice for Janeway. There was someone else that actually turned down the role, and then they went to Kate Mulgrew and said, well, it's yours, kind of thing. And honestly, I don't know who that lady was. She's probably alive, probably dead, I don't know either way. But honestly, I'm happy you didn't accept the role of Janeway and we got Kate Mulgrew. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, it was. Does anybody remember her name?
Genevieve Bonaduce or something?
Genevieve, yeah. French Canadian actress, I think. Yeah, and she'd only filmed parts of the pilot before she realised that she couldn't do the whole hours of being able to film a television show, and the amount of time and effort she'd need to put into it, and as much as respectful that I have for her as an actor and stuff like that, and as a human being, as we should all respect each other.
Of course.
I'm glad she did that, because Kate Mulgrew's getting awesome in the role. She really was. First time that and she managed to pull off the ultimate thing that people thought that couldn't be done, I guess, back in the day, and it was more acceptable to do when she came around, was to be a strong female lead who could show her feminine side, who could show that she is a woman, that she has. I mean, as much as people should be treated equally, men and women do have different traits and things to their personalities and stuff like that. I mean, that's why some people do get stereotyped in certain ways, because there are things that are more female than male, and vice versa. But she managed to pull it off really, really well, being a strong female lead, strong female character, who was who could pull punches with the best of them, who could really kick ass, but wasn't afraid.
Well, you wouldn't
to
want
show.
her pulling punches, dude.
Well, no, you know what I mean.
You want her throwing those punches, not pulling
Throwing
them.
those punches as much as possible, yeah. But who was able to let herself go? Maybe not so much with her crew, but certainly on a personal level. I think she managed to get there. I think with Chakotay, and everyone I think can agree with me when I say, why the fuck did her and Chakotay not get together? I mean, we were all expecting that to end that way. But I think she's my second favourite captain, personally, for all the shows. And her character arc as well was really good. She's the first person that came on board, I think, on Star Trek as a captain who seemed to already be in the role, if you know what I mean. She seemed to be comfortable being who she was, whereas Patrick Stewart and William Shatner, when they came into the role, it was always a bit wooden and took a while to get into it and stuff like that. She was always herself. It was awesome to see, because even when you go back to the first episode, although some of the things can be quite stereotypical of Star Trek and wooden in certain ways, she's not part of that at all. No. And I think it was she done an amazing job at portraying Captain Janeway, and particularly the way she took 709 on board as a sort of mother figure, and managed to bring her into the fold and help her discover her humanity, rediscover her humanity, was awesome. And I can't quite manage to picture any other captain doing that. I don't know if that's because she's a female character, and the whole motherly figure thing, or whether it's just her character in general. I couldn't quite imagine Picard or anybody like that, as much as a mentor that they were for certain people. I couldn't imagine them doing for 7 of 9 what she done. What's your thoughts?
He's not. On that point, I don't know if he's still coming on our list, or he probably will. But I can see Pike doing something like that.
Actually, now you mention it, I didn't think of him. I'm thinking
none
of
of the others, but I can see Pike doing something like that.
Yeah,
You could be.
that's true.
You could be. Sorry.
On you go, man.
You could be at ease with both captains. If you had a problem, you could go to them.
Yeah. Yeah. I've seen Pike be very personable, that's true. I could maybe now that I think about it, I could probably see Pike doing that. yeah. Anybody else's thoughts? Hello. Anybody there?
Mr. Ross, your thoughts?
Don't have many thoughts on that. Gonna be honest, everything's been said.
But do you agree or disagree that Pike would do what Janeway did for 7 of 9?
I mean, yeah. No caveats or anything, just yeah.
So full of words today, my goodness.
Yeah. It's I don't want to take anything away from Janeway's character, but yes, I have not much else to say, and it's a good segue into Pike. It's like I could go on for ages talking absolute shit about how great Janeway's character is and all the stuff she's done in all the episodes and stuff like that, but yes, it's I think we better be getting on. We've still got a few captains to get through yet.
Or we could do that as a next episode on
Part 2.
Yes,
Yeah,
we could do a
part
part
two.
2. Yes, that's true. Oh, very well then. Okay, then I'll continue talking about Janeway then. But yes, I think I find it hard to talk about Janeway as in ways of how she done things for women as a female character, because I'm not female. I don't have that same experience that women have had growing up and stuff like that, and the lack of characters or strong characters and role models for them to look upon. So in certain ways, I'm going at it from a very limited perspective. But yes, I yeah, Janeway's my second favourite captain for a reason. She depicts everything what a Starfleet captain should be. She is strong in her opinions. She knows what she's doing. She's bold. She's confident, but she's also like in episodes like the where they found the Omega Directive, I think it is called, where she was convinced that it's best to let everybody else on board, seeing as how they're so far from Starfleet, and you need the rest of the crew's help to be able to deal with this thing. And there's a few other episodes as well to show that, and yeah, she's a person who was always came across as somebody who you could go to and explain things to, and she'd sit and listen and make up her mind thereafter.
She was protective of her crew.
Very.
Yes, very. I don't. How do people think that's a female trait of a mother figure coming through, or do they think that's just who she is as a captain? Am I reading too much into this?
I think you're
reading far too much into it.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, fair enough.
I think every captain is protective over their crew. I think it's just she was extra protective because they were where they were. I mean,
it
if
was
you
a
put
situation more than her
Yeah.
person. Yeah. No, fair enough. As I say, that's why we're here for debate, lively debate.
I know I obviously have an obvious female. Yes.
Bias is
bias.
what the word you're looking
Not
for.
really. Yeah, but that's not one of the reasons that I like her. Yes, she is a strong female character, but I think it's how the story for the character was written that made it a strong character. Kate Mulgrew did an amazing job. I'm not gonna deny that. Obviously, she is amazing. So it's not the for other women and girls out there. Obviously, she is a hero because she's a strong female character, and she probably did do a lot for other females in the thing. But that's not one of the reasons I follow her. I like if you're a male character, female character, as long as I like the person that you're playing and the story that goes along with it, then I like you, and that's why I like Janeway. But obviously, like I said, other girls and women will agree or disagree with me. It's fine. It was just the whole, and now I'm going around in circles. But I hope it makes sense, at least what I was trying to say.
Oh, most definitely, yeah. Yeah, most definitely. I was kind of hoping in the last couple of minutes that because there's only one segue that I've missed, but nobody's given me a branch to grab onto for a segue onto Captain Archer. So I'll just say Captain Archer. Let's go.
Captain Archer will be in the next one, I think.
Oh, we're going to be at the next one. Okay, then no problem.
Yeah,
we'll find a segue for you there. Okay. So you'll have your segue.
Yeah, so we've got some time to come up with a segue for that.
Indeed. But does anyone have any? Because unfortunately, we have come to that part of the show where obviously I don't want to make these too long and bore people. But we have reached our hourly mark. So does anyone have any closing comments, thoughts on part 1 of these captains?
I would say Picard, Janeway, Kirk, then Sisko. From what we've done so far, that would be my ratings of how well I like them. And it's not to say that I don't like Kirk or even Sisko, because Star Trek Deep Space Nine is brilliant. But just the order of my preference.
Mine would be Janeway, Picard, Sisko, and Kirk.
So it's got to be Kirk. Being they're up for me. But Kirk, if you know us, no clubs. Kirk and Sisko together, I think. Then Picard, very close third. I mean, but Janeway. I couldn't get into the character of Janeway, I don't know why. She's a woman, but it's just I couldn't get into her. I had to be careful there. I think she'll be deeper.
And what about yourselves, Kieran and Ross?
Mine's easy. Mine's the best. It's Nelson, Barbosa, and Blackbeard.
His would be, and I might get it wrong, but his would be Picard, Sisko.
Nope.
Fine, Picard, Kirk.
No.
Janeway, and then Sisko.
She screwed up there badly. It's Picard, Janeway, Kirk, Sisko, Archer.
And what about yourself, Kieran?
Picard, Janeway, Pike, Archer, Burnham.
Yes, we'll get to burn them in the burn on the next episode.
I won't be in that episode.
So I will I will do the deer in the headlights thing and give it to our over to our illustrious captain to finish us off the episode.
Which one? There's two.
Morning officer.
Yes, commanding officer.
Well, thank you very much to everyone for joining this evening. Thank you to all of our listeners and viewers for listening and watching this long. Please let us know what your thoughts are on the captains that we have covered so far. And let us know the order that you like to put these ones in. And obviously, if there's any others that you want us to do, let us know. Because we might miss some, you never know. And then, yeah, join us for part 2 next time. And then, as always, remember to subscribe and watch and let us and you can know when the next podcast comes out and when we do crazy things. And then from me and the crew, from the Omnus and the I.S.S, this is all of us signing out. Bye bye.
Bye.